Computer Repair Simulator has an arsenal of options that allow this project to actually be a simulator. To look at some of these options, when the game loads, click on the Options button. The Options window will now come up, showing us several different categories. Each category really mimics what you think is in that option. For example, network settings. It will show the IP address of the public server when it is online, and some network configuration to allow you to connect to an online game. Controls, pretty self-explanatory, but if you click on this, you can change any of the keys to match or fit your gameplay. Some of these are currently not enabled. If we go to movement, you can certainly change some of the ways you interact with the simulator depending on the background you come from, whether you're a first-person shooter or a CAD user. You'll see that there's probably a better option for you if you adjust some of these settings. Audio is pretty straightforward. It will show you all of your game audio settings. Going to video, we're going to cover all the video options here, starting with your resolution, your screen, and your custom XY option, along with your cam aspect. So when you first load Computer Repair Simulator, you'll see on the main menu, the game launcher is going to detect the resolution of your monitor. This is your primary monitor if you're in a multi-screen setup. It's going to keep those settings for gameplay. But if you ever need to customize them, you can come in here and change the resolution. So first, you can pick the resolution you want to use from this list. If you want to use a custom resolution that isn't in this list, click on Custom. The next thing you want to look at is the screen, whether it's a windowed mode or a full screen mode. So depending on the resolution you select here, it's going to work in conjunction with your screen option. So in this example, I am using a custom 1915 by 1016 window for the game, and it's set under custom. So again, all of these options have to be correct for this setting. If I just wanted to do full screen 1920 by 1080, I would come in here, I would select the option, go full screen, and I would save the changes. You'll see once you change any resolution here besides custom, your custom options will go away. So I'm going to go back to my custom because I use it a lot in windowed mode. And next thing you'll see is a cam aspect. You can turn this on or off. If you notice during gameplay your image seems a little bit skewed or a little bit flat, you can change this and it should fix your cam aspect. You can also change the gamma within the game. Going higher will make it bright, lower will make it darker. You also have an engine alpha. During gameplay, which this setting might not be of any benefit, you can make the screen semi-transparent so you can still play and see your desktop. You can change the color depth of your video. You can also change your camera field of view, which by default it should be 25,000. During gameplay, if you notice that things are being clipped because you might be getting to the edge of the screen or like the rendering options off, you can come in here and increase this value. It's going to use more system RAM and power, but it will let you see further into the game, increase your camera field of view. You can also change your frames per second. You can turn shadows on or off. You can also change the quality of the shadows along with how far away shadows appear from the camera and the methodology of the shadow. Changing this depending on your graphics card can enhance your graphics. You can also select the max particle count for all the in-game particle systems. Let's move on to the next page by clicking more video options. The second page really shows a lot of more detailed video graphics settings. I wouldn't necessarily change any of these unless the technical team asks you, or if you just want to go and maybe change a setting, because really this is where you can make the engine show some really great graphics based upon your video card. Maybe one thing to note here is that the bounding box, you can turn this on, and this is actually going to show you the collision points within the game. So turning it on, playing the game, every object now has a visible box around it. Might help out, maybe support if you need it. Let's go to the next page, and there's a render distance for how far we can see, and this is in reference to the setting from the first page, and the aspect ratio. If you ever need to change your aspect ratio, you can set it here. For now, we're going to keep it the default, and this covers the video options. Now we're going to go to general. Under general, you'll see that we have a game difficulty level. It goes from easy, medium, hard, expert, insane. On the easy level, you will be able to remove pretty much any part of the computer without having any dependencies. For example, you can remove the case when everything's all installed in easy mode. But on medium or harder, you can no longer do that. In order to remove the case, you need to remove everything, including the motherboard, before you can take the case out and replace it. The next thing is the movement speed modifier. This might have to be adjusted in the future. I think 2x is really good, but if you want to move around faster or slower, you can change your option here. Alternatively, we can change it into a data file, which gives you like a point system, so it could be like 1.5 instead of 1 or 2. The next option is your max click distance. Depending on how you want to play the game, you can change this. So like for example, you can't turn a light on or click a component in the computer if you're too far away. If you don't like that, you can adjust the setting here to meet your requirements. You can enable the sky. You can show trees if the level loads trees. You can turn on and off the day and night cycle. You can use different time systems, which really is not really relevant right now, mostly for logging if anything, but this is going to be converted into something else later. You can change the language of the game. You can change the currency type, the age you can adjust. This doesn't do a lot right now, but will later. And the action speed, really, it's set to quick. Real time's not coded because I don't think we want to wait real time on installing everything right now, but maybe later I'll add that. So click on more options, and then we have our debug level. The debug level by default should be 0, but if we ask you to get more information about a specific problem that you've been having, or you just want to go and maybe look at more information, you can set this to 6, and it will log a lot of information. Just be aware that this is turning on max debugging, so you may see more data file problems during gameplay where it says it's trying to save all the data at once. Just click OK to continue through. Don't cancel. If you cancel, it'll close the game. Click OK. It should be fine. You can use the system mouse or you can use the in-game mouse. You can change your turn sensitivity. You can turn hints on or off. So when you start the game and you have a bunch of things on the screen that tell you, hey, start here, click here, this is what this is. If you don't like that, you can turn that off. Also, additional game hints can be turned off if you have this, if you don't want to see them anymore. You can select your default preferred browser. You can select the solo menu or no solo menu. And really what this does is if you have your inventory open and you click on your skills or your shop, you want to have the option to close the previous window or keep them all open. I prefer to have a solo menu only so you're not just covered with a bunch of panels and menus on the screen. You can set the level limits. So with this yes being enabled, you're only confined to the level. If you want to move outside that level, you can change this to no, and you can take your camera way beyond the scope of the playable field. When you use the level editor, you can load the models or not load the models. You can change your move angle. When you rotate the computer or you pan it or you roll it, you can decide how many times you have to press the button to get it to a certain position. If you set this to 1, this is only going to increment the rotation by 1 degree. You can go as high as 180 degrees. The recommendation is probably 45 or maybe even 10. This allows you to pretty much get your system to go where you need it to go fairly easily. But again, this can be changed depending on your gameplay. Last but not least, you can enable or disable the in-game bot. And then when you're all done, you can either save your changes if you made changes, or if you need to restore the settings, you can click the restore.